Happy Saturday. Happy last day of February. You've made it through the month. We are here to set up our first week of March in our brand new journals. And I'm really, really glad to see you. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy, and I get to be your on screen facilitator this morning. I was with some of you last night. We went to bed together after we did the monthly setup. And I will also be doing a monthly setup this evening. So I know we've got some folks who said they're book ending. They're going to start with Sonder. They're going to start their day with Sonder family and end their day with Sonder family. So we'll do the weekly this morning and monthly tonight. And joining me on the call, my co pilot this morning is the fabulous Bailey Grady, who's in Tennessee. She's popping on and giving you all a wave. We are just really, really happy to be with you. Bailey and I hadn't been together in a while, and now this is like twice in 1 week. So I'm feeling really spoiled that I got to hang out with her and catch up on all the things. So, yeah, some of you are talking about the change in the weather, and yeah, it's not a Monday morning, Kimberly. We're welcoming spring in some areas. I am reluctantly getting excited. Like Dallas is weird because we've been kind of 79, 80 degrees. I have my hummingbird food cooling on my stove right now. But I still think we're not done. I think we're going to get like one more surprise, weird, cold thing. But man, I'm ready to start getting into my garden and digging in the dirt. So this quote, you think winter will never end, and then when you don't expect it, when you have almost forgotten it, warmth comes in a different light. So you might notice that it's staying lighter outside in the mornings and we're getting a little more bang for our buck with our days. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. That's how we share support. We give each other ideas. It's so important that we share. Now you're also welcome to just take what you don't have to enter. It might be a little early. You may be like, it's too early to do people, and I'm just gonna sit with my mug and do my um setups. And so that's great too. But make sure your chat's set to everybody. And I want to know first off, if you are following the chat, everybody's saying good morning to each other. And we are friends. We are definitely Sonder family is a really, really special community, even though we're virtual. We just have these relationships that are so amazing. And I want to know if anybody here is brand new, like you thought, let me go see what these setups are about. If that's you, just drop a me in the chat because we want to give you a big Sonder good morning and welcome. And in the chat, I would love to know what you are loving this week, right now, this very moment. Hey, Chris, make sure you set your chat to everyone. It says hosts and panelists right now, so not everybody can see your name, but Chris O'Keefe is here for the first time. So, y'all give Chris a big welcome. And then, yeah, if you didn't already, drop in the chat what you're loving. What are you, Luann, baklava? Who doesn't love baklava? I'm loving a couple of things. I was telling Bailey I'm by myself in my house, which very rarely happens. So my husband's out of town for the day. He had an overnighter, and I got caught up on some Bridgerton last night. So I'm loving that. And I'm loving that I can laugh at myself. And I'll show you why in just a few minutes. But we want to know, we want to start with no, I won't give you any spoilers. We want to start with some good juju. So drop in the chat what you are loving. Maybe you're reading something new, or you found a new product, or you tried a new restaurant, or let us know. Community guidelines are always shared at the front end of these times together. This is just our reminder that we create these safe spaces with one another. If you are here for the first time, we also want to make sure that you remember that these gatherings are tools to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. Like I said, the best community, one of my favorite communities in my life personally. But you have to be responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So anytime you're working in your journal, if something doesn't feel right, lead with that and come back to it when you're in best mind frame to work on things. Now, these setups are a little more of our productive piece of the whole Silk and Sonder package. So usually we're good at these setup socials. I'm loving this. I don't remember, but somebody had recommended watching Night Watch, on Netflix, and my husband and I started it together. I love having a show that we can watch together, and oh, that one's a good one. So thank you, Sonder family, for recommending that. That's another thing I'm loving. Brand new month, brand new theme, and loving the transition of themes into change. I just think this is going to be so powerful. So we are kind of saying goodbye to belief in our February journal. And speaking of journal, I don't know if y'all noticed that we now have this idea of a collection. So you may notice that the fronts look kind of the similar with the florals, but the colors are going to change. And the idea of Meha was that, this will become the collection for this year, and then we'll see a change up in the florals next year. So you're the first to get to participate in that. Um, so we're going from what we believe in, right, into jumping into what does change look like in our life. And oh my goodness, when they align like that, yeah, it's so great. Align, believe, change. Perfect, Christy. And so I love Mother Teresa. I don't know if I'm going to leave this quote up all month or if I'm going to change it from week to week, but she said, I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. And I think, I shared last night, that's kind of like, we recognize we're little fish in a big pond, but we can create these ripples that can be so positive, even like showing up this morning and how y'all are just lifting each other up. Think about how we're starting our day instead of starting our day with doom and gloom and going through, news feeds. So glad you're here. All righty. This morning, we are starting off our brand new mind map. There will be 4 weeks, so you'll be setting up for 4 weeks. And then we'll have a bonus question at the end of the month. Just so you know, then we're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we're going to do our weekly setup pages. So let's get going with that mind map. You can find a blank space in your journal. I take a hint from my co-facilitator, Bailey, who says I go to the last page because I know where it is. It's easy to get to. You can do this in a sticky note on your sidekick journals, wherever you like to keep that. This is a bonus prompt that you will get when you show up for the weekly setups. It's not printed in your journal. So, yes, divide your journal up into 4 sections, or the page into 4 sections, one for each week. And we always say, you can grab a stencil from around the house. Maybe lots of times I'll use a cookie cutter or my driver's license. A lid. I keep a tuna fish can lid in my desk drawer right here. And I use a lid to just kind of depends. I did something different this month. I'm going to show you what I did. And every month, we're going to be peeling back a new layer of our theme to see what's underneath. So, week 1 for our change mind map, the question we're given is, how do you typically respond to change? Do you embrace it or resist it? Think of past changes and your feelings around them. What does this reveal about your relationship with change? And I mean, this is a whole page worth of writing. Maybe you'll have 4 notes pages for your month. So I did something different this month. I found these little translucent post-it notes, and I'm writing the question on the top of this post-it note with a permanent marker, and then I'm putting my answer underneath it. So my mind map is going to look like that. I did choose page 60, the last page to do it. So I'll let you know if I like it or not. But a lot of times I just do the answers and I don't have the questions. And I thought this might be a good way for me to go, what was the question? And my answer, I'll share very quickly. I said, I believe I'm fairly open to change. but probably more so if I'm the original originator of said change, like if it's my idea. I know this about myself. I value stability and reliability and predictability, but I think I learned flexibility by being an educator and an administrator. I've always loved the quote, which is a Yiddish proverb, make plans and God laughs. I value my tenacity to bloom where I am planted. So I think I have a pretty healthy relationship with change, but change is hard. And I was talking to a girlfriend yesterday. She and I had a hangout day, and I was just kind of telling her about the theme this month. And she said, even good change is hard. And she's so right. We like to get comfortable. And so we will be, yeah, there's this like sliding scale on change because we are creatures of habit and we do like to sort of think we're in control. So that's kind of the direction I took it. I'm going to put on some music. I'm giving you a little bit extra time today so that you have time to, draw your quadrants or trace your spaces and get set up. But let's work on this. Think about your personal relationship with change and wherever you are, your season right now, maybe like you're resisting it because you're going through something hard, and that's okay. It's okay to be honest with yourself. Or maybe, you're feeling pretty good and you're welcoming change. We're all on our own journey. So take this for where you need to go with it. I'll go back and forth between these two slides, and yeah, feel free to share what's coming up for you in the chat. But let's set up our page and dive into week one's mind map. right. I'm laughing because I'm sitting here and I wrote, I think I'm fairly open to change, and then a call out on when the stores change things around. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. My Aldi switched everything. And every time I go in there for the last 3 months, I am as lost as a goose. And I'm like, why did they move everything? I feel so lost. So maybe I'm maybe I'm not quite as flexible with change as I thought. So yeah, that was a really good call out. It's those little things. Like I said, maybe it's just when I'm in charge of the said changes, I'm okay. So yeah, we're gonna be having some fun digging in and recognizing how we deal with change. So we are going to now move into our rosebud thorn reflection. So if you did the last full week of February in your February journal, this will be on page 30. I'm sorry, on page 56 in February. Or if you went ahead and moved into March, or this is your first kind of go at the journaling process here, you'll find this on page 30 in March. It doesn't matter. You can do it wherever you want, but this could be like your last little journal um, detail in your February journal. And we look at our roses and buds and thorns from the previous week, and it really is a exercise in gratitude. So for the roses, we're looking at those things that brought us joy, that we're feeling good about. Maybe we had some successes. Maybe there were people in our life that brought some joy, and so those roses are those things that went well, that we're excited about. For me, I had a really big meeting for this organization that I'm in. I'm the president of the local chapter. It's small, but it was kind of like my first time to do some stuff. It was a pretty important business meeting. February and March are always the big kind of reporting times, and it was successful, and I was feeling pretty proud of myself. Those buds, what are you looking forward to? What's bringing you joy? What are you thinking about? Even a week from now, or a month from now, or a season from now? What are you looking forward to? What is that thing that is inspiring you and helping you, go day by day? And sometimes it's as simple as we have a brand new week. For me, it's my garden. I'm a big gardener, and I'm just getting excited. I have little seedlings planted on my windowsills inside, and getting excited to plan for that. And then, what is your thorn? What is what caused you a little bit of grief this week? What were the stumbling blocks or the challenges? Or who were your challenges? And for me, I put critters and varmints, because y'all know we have this camp house, and it's on pier and beam, and something got into the ductwork and like shredded ductwork. So as we speak, there is an AC guy taking a lot of our money to repair that. So boo on that. So that was our thorn, our little challenge. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. Feel free to share in the chat what this week brought you. Let us celebrate together, and let us hold space for one another with the things that were tricky. And remember, no right or wrong. And this is very personal. So you can share as you're comfortable. And, we're open to all. So, yeah, feel free to share. Some of your roses are amazing. Gosh, cruises. That sounds lots of fun. As y'all were sharing in the chat, it kind of dawned on me like um a rosebud thorn reflection is so aligned with this idea of change. How we were talking about, change is hard, and like it can be like you can have a change and it can be good and tough at the very same time. So it just kind of made me think about how aligned this gratitude activity that we do every single week is just really aligned with this idea of change. Many of you mentioned your thorns have to do with people. And I always say I think those are the worst because they really are completely out of your control, and all you control is yourself and your reaction to that. So, anyhow, thank you for sharing. And I hope that maybe this week will bring you more roses and buds than thorns. But remember that sometimes our this reflection can be one thing, like one thing can be all three things. Like we can see the highlights in something, we can look forward to the future in something, but it can also be tricky. So gosh, I just like thank you for helping me realize how well it's going to align with this idea of change. So now let's set up pages 32 and 33, which is week one in your journal, and or the first part of March. And I have these fun days. So this graphic is just kind of a fun way you can see the alliteration days over there. If you've been with me, I've used this many times before. Welcome to y'all who are coming in a little late. We're glad you're here. Um, and it's just kind of a fun way to frame out your day. I mean, if you wake up on Monday and say, today's a magical Monday, ooh, mindset change immediately. And then we have some special days coming up this week. And so perhaps you'll take some of these and pop that into your plan. Now, I have this slide later in the setup as well. So, like, you might end up using it over in your mind body health plan. So, you'll see this one again. But some days I want to just call out March 3rd is voting day if you haven't early voted. So make sure that you take time for that. And then the 8th is International Women's Day. And so that's pretty cool. So yeah. So you'll see this again later on, but I'll go through this. I'll go back to this as we're working on this page. Y'all, I was so proud of myself. I completely set up myself for this week. Normally, I kind of have it half done and then I sort of finish up while I'm doing the social with you. And I was feeling so sassy because I got my plans made. And then, you know how we had that extra week at the front of the journal? Well, for some reason, I double turned the weeks. And so this is actually set up on week 11 when it should be week 10. So I just I just wanted to tell you that, this is a great way to break up with perfect. Next week, when it's actually week 11, my setup will be on pages, on week 10. So, we do the best we can, but I wanted you to kind of see my pages. I don't often have them complete when I do this. So anyway, yeah, you just sit with it. Nobody's grading it, but I was like, are you kidding me? I had one job. So this is actually my week 10 and my little calendar is going to be off. Again, I'm excited about gardening. So my weekly to-dos for garden love, and I've listed all the things I need to accomplish this week to sort of be in that prep mode. I am not doing three major goals. I am out of rhythms and routines. I struggle with that since I don't work full time outside the home anymore and don't have that built in for me. So I I was on vacation at the front end of February, came back, just never really have found my rhythm. So this is the week to do that. And I've got my little trackers written below the AM routine and the PM routine, and a day doesn't get a check if they're not all done. And then my habit and activity list is I've got my seven chores that I need to do this week over in my meal plan. And so my habit and activity is holding me accountable to go do one of those things and mark it off in my habit and activity tracker. I made a little bingo in the shopping list, and each day I want to do two plus things off of my bingo card. And then I want to fill my water bottle every morning and drink my water bottle every day. So I'm going to be tracking those two things separately because I'm real good about filling it up. And then I forget to go back and drink out of it. So I'm going to have it kind of coming around with me all day long. And then my mind, body, health, I just made a little menu of some things that I'd like to do this week. They're not tied to a day, but just those are some of the things I need to do to really focus on my self-care. I'm going to prep 3 overnight oats. I'm going to do my teeth strips once. I'm going to check in with my March budget. That's like a grown-up self-care thing. There's the fun self-care, and then there's the adulting. I'm going to make a mammogram appointment, which I'm past due, but that's an adulting self-care. Read a physical book, but it's got to be outside, and tell Jim what I appreciate instead of focusing on maybe what he's not doing. And then I'm going to try one day of no social media. So that's how I'm going to frame out my wellness. I know one whole day, Susie. I need to like eliminate it completely. So there are my pages on the wrong week, but I wanted just to share that. I'm not often geared up to do that for y'all when I share other people's things. Now, you may not have done your monthly setup, and that's okay. But I do want to do a little shout out to our intentions that we always set up and that stop, start, and continue box, because that can really help us set up this first portion of our setup at the front end of the month. Like, what are your intentions? How do they define your goals? Or that stop, start, and continue? How does that inform your goals that you set? And you'll notice this weekly to do space has been repurposed by one of our Sonder family, a physics book. Not me, Luann. I love to read mush. But the intention work is part of this to do space. So this person is holding themselves accountable to flip back to page 9 to make sure that they are checking in with their intentions. So that's just kind of an idea for you if you have a hard time remembering to go hold yourself accountable to that. So let's start with how you want to feel this week. Drop that in the chat. Let's get this popcorn conversation going. You saw on my page, I want to feel attentive and accomplished. Those two A words, because again, I've been off track with just like getting things done. So those are my 2 words for the week. I'm seeing metamorphosis. Love that. Perfect for change. Restored. Feel progress, not perfection. Beth Ann, the best way to do that is to do your setup on week 11 instead of week 10. That you'll have that taken care of immediately. Joyful, energized, curated, intentional, peace, and confidence. Flourishing. I love that. So we are just starting, Sabrina, with how we want to feel for the week. We worked on our rosebud thorn reflection, and so we're starting our setup. Alrighty, there's some words if you're lacking. And if you have like this feeling and you can't come up with anything, drop that in the chat because, that Webster's dictionary is out there in the chat. Y'all always have the best words to share with one another. So we're going to take that feeling now and kind of consider what our goals will look like. If you have not tried SMART goals and you have a week that you really need these goals to happen, I'm going to encourage you to grab a screenshot screenshot of the SMART goal thing because that really helps us be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. We get very specific and tie these goals into this time frame, and we're very specific. So instead of move my body, it might be I will do 15 minutes of online yoga 3 times this week. And so you can see how move my body changes into being a very specific way of framing out that goal. So that's always a good go-to if you can do SMART goals. And then here's some examples from our community about how they set their space up. And I show the middle one says instead of doing 3 major goals, they're just doing personal growth goals. So absolutely permission to change this up as you need to. You saw that I didn't do goals this week. My goal is kind of routine, just getting back in routine. So my routine for morning and evening went in this space. Again, never a right or wrong way of doing this. Here's some more examples of how folks have set this space up. There's another time that I changed this into just my good morning and my midday check-in instead of setting goals. And then somebody else is using this as their 3 major self-love reminders. So I love that. Maybe you need some reminders about what change looks like in your life. And so you put those there. And then we'll take those goals into our to-dos. A little shout out about using that little calendar that is printed in that upper left-hand corner. This person has used this for plans, something that might be due at work, and then activities. And it's just kind of that visual to tune them into what their week is bringing. I'm going to suggest trying the Pomodoro method. If you have a big task, this is a great way to divide that up. And you know, the Pomodoro means tomato in Italian, and it is inspired by those tomato timers. And it's basically you do 4 Pomodoros, which are 4 25-minute focused sessions, and then you take a break. Then you do those again. You do those 4 focused sessions, and then you take a little bit longer break. And then you do that again, 4 focused sessions, another break. But working under a timer may be the secret sauce you need to get something done. And so that works really nicely. The Eisenhower matrix is always, showing up in our slide decks because these are really good ways of taking a big to-do list and getting it prioritized so that you can stay focused. So we always call out things, little techniques like this that you can use. I'll go back through all of these while you're working on this session. Here's how folks have set up their to-do list. Sometimes they're divided. Sometimes you might have the stickers that talk about what you need to do. And I like this reflection. What are the 3 most important tasks of each day in the coming week? Where can you schedule time for rejuvenation or refilling your energy cup? And what's the smallest possible step forward you can take to see momentum and connect with your why? So this person's going to see this every day because it's right there on that front and center on their page. And this is a very good mindset reflection for how you frame out your day. And then, of course, some repurposing ideas like making a to-be list, making a dread list, all those kinds of things. And maybe you do a to-don't list, like where do you need some boundaries? Again, maybe going and looking at that stop, start, and continue space if you've set that up. What are the things you wanted to stop doing? Maybe that's your to-don't list this week. So lots of ways to set that up. So let's work on this very quickly, and then we'll work on those habits and activities and share with us what are your goals? How are you using these spaces? Are you using them as printed? Or are you changing them up a little bit? And then we'll come back and work on those habits and activities. All right, now we're going to drop down to that bottom section of our habit and activity tracker. And oftentimes we're like, why do we have these two trackers? We have the big habit tracker for the monthly, and those tend to be the things you want to do every day of the month, most days of the month. But the weekly tracker is so cool because it can also just track activities like maybe carpool duty or watering plants. And so it can really be, there's a lot of flexibility in making it work for the particular week you're having. But you can also have the same habits in both trackers. So that might be the accountability that you are looking for there. So love the idea of remembering that a little habit could take about 3 weeks. A average habit, it might take about 8 weeks to hardwire. But if you're trying something brand new in your world, it could take up to 8 months. And so keep that in mind as you're doing these trackers and you're thinking, oh, I'm not doing so great. Yeah, your blank spaces are part of that story. And some habits just take a little longer to rewire your brain so that they truly become habits. So give yourself lots of grace for that. In these spaces, you can see how folks have set goals, folks didn't set goals. There's, again, no right or wrong way to do this. You don't have to fill in every line. Kimberly L, speaking of choosing those soft colors that you were seeking, love that because I think this is one of your older examples of having a very colorful week and you were going to choose bright colors and try to eat the rainbow and all that good stuff. So I love that. Anyhow, you can see the one in the upper right there. It's all going back to a lot of the stuff that's in our journal. So this person wants to make sure they're checking in with their gratitude log, but they're looking at their sleep tracker, their habit tracker, their mood tracker. So if you're really needing to incorporate a way to hold yourself accountable to those trackers, and that's important to you, this is a great place to track those. You can take those March intentions if you've set them up to kind of inform this space and that monthly habit tracker, and just some more examples of how folks are setting this up. Love the one in the bottom middle there. They're just tracking three things. You always are encouraged to take what you need. And yeah, so let's work on that really quickly, and then we'll go to our page 2. Alrighty. And yeah, just permission that you don't have to use this tracker. You can put stickers over the whole bottom of your page, the stickers that make you smile. So and focus on your monthly tracker. It's really about making this work for you. Um, oh, Corey, I love that. Corey's just hanging out. It's like I always say, we're having coffee date together. I always drink my coffee with the Sonder family, and I love that. So here's that graphic again of the ways we can celebrate our week. I'll put this on because we're going to pop over now to our second half of our setup, which is this page 2. And I've got a lot of content to show you in a really short amount of time. So remember, this is being recorded. You'll be able to access this again, or you can join me on Monday morning when I'll be doing a repeat showing of, of this. So we have our meal plan, and folks love to repurpose the space because we've got those big juicy boxes there, and there's a lot of different ways folks have repurposed it. So there's some ideas for you, but you still may desire a place for your like dinner plans, your main meal of the day. And so here's a couple of examples of how the Mind Body Health Plan and a shopping list have been used to sort of put those plans in for the main meal so that you can free up this meal plan space for something else. I used it for my chores this week. But here's some examples, some priorities, week at a glance, the daily affirmation, a clothing plan, or a packing plan. And then we'll jump over into our mind body health plan. And everything I'm showing you on this page can really be repurposed into any of these spaces. So maybe something here that you're seeing on the mind body health plan, you may choose to put in your meal planner because you want more space. So we've got lots of ways of reflection. I always say use this space as your kind of selfish space. That's what I do. That's what I put here for my self-care. But you can see there's some I love this one over there on the right, that bottom right, that's all alliteration: release, rejoice, revive, resist, and rebuild. So that's kind of fun. We always love the how do I feel and what is that telling me I need check in, which can be done morning, can be done midday, can be done at night, or all three. Maybe three of these spaces become your how do I feel and what do I need check in. I love this. A tiny brave step is to search for one thing today that reminds you of the best of humanity. This is like the pot calling the kettle black because I really need to do this. I feel so overwhelmed sometimes with the news of the day. So hold on to it, share it, treasure it, and return to it when you need encouragement. So this could be a highlight of your day or a daily glimmer, just that moment of looking for the good things to counter the other stuff of this world. Here are some self-care ideas for spring. So what is your something you could do for your routine, something to be quiet, something to find creativity, your social time, physical time, and spiritual time. So these may inspire one of the spaces on this page. I'm going to go back through all of these. Last night, I shared someone was wanting some more information on the 7 types of rest. And I shared I was sharing this slide this morning. So here's how someone set up a beautiful page to do the 7 types of rest. But perhaps you look at your rest and realize I need some sensory rest. So you may think of all the ways you may just focus on just that type of rest for the week and think of ways that you can rest from this sensory, from screen time, from everything coming. Man, we've got, we could all probably use a rest from sensory. Or maybe you haven't been getting any creative rest. And so you're going to focus on that and put in a lot of opportunities to doodle, to do a craft, to do your hobby, to read something inspiring, to really tap into your creativity so you can really just focus in on one type of rest. The shopping list, I love the shopping list. I've got one unplugged for 1 hour in that mind body health plan there, but that's a way to find sensory rest, but you could put it in this mind body health place. We love a good bingo, and we love this space because it makes really good grids. So you can see some examples of that. If you're having a birthday, I highly recommend doing a birthday bingo and celebrating yourself in small ways. And then, my friends, in a week, we're going to go to bed next Saturday, and those clocks have to be moved forward for Sunday, March 8th. And so, daylight savings time is coming. And I thought this was a really good graphic to help us ease into. I think this one, springing ahead is a tougher one than falling back, because we lose that hour. And so, here are some tips for maybe starting to incorporate this week. Maybe you'll focus on this so that your transition into losing that hour is a smooth one. And so I thought it would be good to look at that, avoiding alcohol before bed, really establish your consistent sleep routine this week. Make sure that you're tapping into that, maybe even dialing your sleep time back a little bit every day, so that that hour doesn't hit you in the face. Boom. Spending time outside, maybe don't, nap in moderation, and don't consume too much caffeine. So those things will maybe help out as we approach that in a week from now. Here's a wellness at work challenge, but the things on this graphic could apply to really most of our days, whether we're working in the home or outside of the home. So, just some fun things to grasp onto and put into one of these spaces. Hopefully, that's inspiring to you. Time to spring clean. And then maybe you'll just, to find those moments of, those little glimmers or those highlights. Perhaps you'll do something like this photo of the day challenge, which can really help focus your mind on seeking something precious and beautiful in your day just by capturing a picture on your phone. And maybe you set yourself up to look for that, either in your week, or maybe you go use that calendar on page 3 and fill that in with a photo of the day challenge. Perhaps, this is a Read Across America month. And so perhaps you just dive into different kinds of books and you make yourself a little bingo. And then, or you could do something small like the March reading list. I love read a book with a green cover, set in Ireland, find a book about dragons. So those are kind of fun ways to embrace the idea of reading across America. Here's some spring self-care for you, and also some suggestions for filling your own cup, which could also go in any of these spaces. So let me put on some music and I'll go back through these slides. And if you saw something that resonated with you, grab a screenshot, and then I'll be back to close out our time together. I am so glad that you woke up and maybe you're drinking coffee with Bailey and me this morning, and that you've worked on week 10, not week 11, of your journal, and that you are feeling so good about the week ahead, about diving into changes as we go through this month together, supporting one another and providing each other beautiful insight. Um, just thank you for joining us. It's a great way to start our weekend with the Sonder family. We'd love to see your setup in Sonder Club. So if you'll share that weekly planner, we'd love that. We always love to shout out about the personal life coach. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Make it a good week. Maybe I'll see some of you tonight for our monthly setup or Monday morning. And remember, this has been recorded. And so you'll be able to access that this recording in probably within the hour or so. Thanks for being here, Sonder family. Also, pay attention to the chat. Bailey's dropping a lot. A lot of links in there that'll help you navigate your way through all wonderful things Silk and Sonder.